Hey sis, and welcome back to the Balanced Woman podcast. Today, we're joined by Dr. Natesha. She is a powerhouse in the holistic wellness sphere and a true advocate for women navigating high-stress professions. With nearly 2 decades of academic experience, Dr. Smith has dedicated her career to bridging the gap between traditional mental health and real life experiences of veterans, healthcare professionals, and educators. As the CEO of Arabella Wellness Center, she is on a mission to create culturally responsive programs that promote resilience and emotional well-being for often overlooked communities. But her work doesn't stop there. Dr. Smith-Isabell also leads a cultural competent training and wellness initiatives that equip organizations the tools needed to better serve military individuals. In this episode, we're diving into all things burnout, the steps you can take to prevent burnout, how you can actually get rest, and how to set boundaries to ensure that the burnout cycle stops. Dr. Natesha, welcome to the podcast. Let me down. Welcome to the podcast. Dr. Natesha, please tell me a little bit more about yourself. Tell us some about the work you do.
Thank you, Jessica, for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate just the time to be here today. So in thinking about my journey, when I reflect on it, it's really easy to kind of get focused on like titles and milestones and all those different types of things. But the real story is about just the navigating my own seasons with burnout, grief, and reinvention. So I come from a long line of women who carried everything on their shoulders without being taught how to rest, how to heal, how to ask for help even, because they had to be the backbones of their families and their communities. And for a long time, I really believed that strength it really just meant pushing through until my mind, my body, and my spirit said, no, Natesha, we're not doing this anymore. And so my work with Arabella Wellness Center is really just almost like a love letter to women that I know experience the same thing like within their families
Yeah.
and just women that are like me. And there are plenty out there. And
Yeah.
so basically, Arabella was born from this very personal mission to create spaces for women that they feel seen, they feel supported, and they feel empowered to heal. Because sometimes it almost seems like we are asking like for permission to rest.
Yeah.
And so this is just a space for women to know that they can come in and they can rest. They can rest and they can get poured into. And so my sister and I co-founded this space. And the truth of the matter is healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about remembering like who you really are beneath all of the titles, the roles, and the burnout and expectations that people have for you. I'm curious though, in your community and the
Yeah.
women that you're around, have you heard similar types of conversations about like burnout and stress and just not knowing how to truly rest?
Yes, that's exactly what I've heard. And what you mentioned in regards to your personal experience, like the things that you came up knowing as a thing, so to speak, is what I usually like to say, like, this is common, this is the norm. Hear that quite often, specifically with Black women or women of color, including myself. My mom was a single mom as well, too, and there were 5 of us total. I still don't know how she did it, but I know that's a part of it. She hit burnout left and right, and it was so evident and so obvious to me now. Whereas back then, I just felt like, man, I mean, we crack jokes about it still, but we used to just say, man, she would knock out at a drop of a dime. And it could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like she just made sure we made it home, we had something to eat, and that was it. But I hear very similar stories from the women in my community that's the norm. And I usually hear that they like burnout kind of sneaks up on them now because it's the norm, because they're so used to doing the things, right? And you just get going that next thing you know, you're like, man, I'm irritable. Or, you start getting those like beginning warning signs. And I would love to hear that from you, especially because hopefully most of the women that once they leave your wellness center, they're like, okay, I know I know to avoid this. Come back here to get taken care of, but avoid letting it get so bad. What are
Yes.
some of those early warning signs that you've noticed or that you've seen within women?
So some of the warning signs that I saw in myself,
Oh yeah.
and that I see in women as well, is the persistent fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So one is like you're going to sleep, but you're waking up tired.
Yeah.
You're drinking all the coffee, but it is not working anymore at all. And then another one that I don't think we often associate with burnout, or like kind of the early signs of burnout, is just emotional numbness. When you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
such a disconnect from like your feelings, like you know that maybe you should feel happy in this moment, but it's not quite hitting the same.
Mm-hmm.
And even like joy, excitement, sadness, they're all present, but they're just not like you can't connect to that feeling anymore. And usually it's because you're just tired, like you are just exhausted. I think increased irritability is one that we would all
Yeah.
kind of
We
recognize
all see that.
immediately. Yes. Another common one too that again is not often associated is the withdrawal. So withdrawing from others, just trying to, I guess, hold on to your peace as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
So you're withdrawing and retreating. We often hear that talked about more so with like depression, but it's a part of burnout too. It can definitely be an early warning sign there. There are physical symptoms. So, one of the things that we do at Arabella is oral health education, and that's because my sister's a dentist. So she's a
Yeah,
good
that's
friend,
awesome.
so of course, like oral health is there, right? But something that she taught me that has had like this lasting impression is how much we hold tension in our mouths.
Ooh.
And so sometimes where you don't even realize that you're clenching throughout your
Mm-hmm.
day, until maybe like you separate and then it's like this release that happens here. So just like some of those physical symptoms and then gastrointestinal system
Mm-hmm.
issues too that come up as well. Um, and because when you're talking about burnout, you're talking about having high cortisol levels and rates, which increases your susceptibility to other illnesses. So just like frequent colds and sinus infections and like all these different things are just early warning signs. Your body is trying to say, hey, can you slow down and
Exactly.
figure out something to help? Um, and then like some of the other things too, neglecting personal needs.
Yeah.
So this one was a big one for me. So skipping out on meals throughout the day because I
Mm-hmm.
just need to complete things and then I can eat
Just
at the
push
end.
through.
I can eat dinner and that's good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of powering through so you can get all the things that you think you need to get done. Yeah.
Yeah, as you were saying, I was thinking about the different ways that people in my community express those things, and I don't think they like correlate them. So, like, myself included, because when you mentioned withdrawal, I thought about the fact that I usually tell people I shut up, is what I say. I'm like, I don't say nothing to nobody because
Hmm.
I'm trying to protect that little bit of peace I have left because I know irritability and all that negativity that's coming up because of the burnout
Yes.
has nothing to do with what my kids probably did or what my husband got going on or whatever. But it is another form of withdrawing because usually I just go off, do things myself, or and then it's not even things that will really help the burnout. Like it's probably to your point, it's like, you know what, let me hurry up and get through all this. Let me hurry up and get this done so that the burnout will be over sooner. I have to check myself on that stuff.
That is not how that works.
You know,
Yes.
I know. Or
Yeah.
my friend, she often says that she'll go into her shell. And
Mm,
so, and I recognize that as her friend. And so usually I'm like blowing her up. I'm like, don't do this. I just,
mm-hmm.
I know this means something is up, which means we
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
need to talk it out and we need to talk through it. But I think that I wish that there was almost like a aid that we could give people, especially like African American women, to show that like actually when you say this push through thing, that statement, this is what that means. Like this is the
Yes.
symptom that correlates to your point, right? If you go to a dentist and you're constantly having cavities because you're not taking care of your personal needs,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that's lack of personal needs, lack of self-care, lack of hygiene, all of those
It is.
things. And
Mm-hmm.
that impacts so much else, you know.
Yes, It
Look,
does.
I'm gonna put her on blast, but she gonna hate me for this. But like, you made me think about my sister because when she was burned out, like going through nursing school, she used to say that often too. Like, man, I stay sick. Like that's all it is. I'm just sick all the time. And I used to think the same thing. Like it's because of what you're susceptible to because of the burnout. Oh man, I just somebody needs to create that. Somebody needs to create like just an aid that's like, did you have you said this today? It probably means this. Like because they I think we don't correlate it and then when we do, usually we're at that push through stage. And
Yes.
it's just like, let me just get through it and then I'll do the self care. Knowing that like it very likely doesn't happen and it's not just reading a book for an hour. Like,
No.
in order to
No.
overcome
No.
it.
And that's the thing. It takes time to build to burnout, and it takes time to come out of it.
Yeah.
And we sometimes think that if we let me just go and get a massage, let me just read a book, let me
Yeah.
just have this cup of tea over here, like in my reading chair or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
um, that one thing is not going to curtail all of the other things that you've built in the burnout space. And another thing that we oftentimes like to talk about, like with our clients, has to do with like different types of rest because that's truly connected too. So there are 7 types of rest basically, and
Hmm.
we're not taught that. Like that's another thing that we're
No.
not taught. And so, like you may be feeling tired and think, okay, I'm gonna go and take a nap, but that may not be the type of rest that you need. You may need creative rest. You may need rest from like the electronics and digital kind of items that you're scrolling through all the time. If you listen to your body, it will tell you what kind that you do need. But it's just important to one start to build boundaries
Yeah.
around like your time and what you're doing and saying yes to. And then also the self compassion is so important. And I don't think, especially as Black women, that we engage in that a lot, where we truly think about our needs,
Yeah.
um, prioritize ourselves, so that we can then show up better for others. Because I mean, they work hand in hand. If you're
Exactly.
pouring from an empty cup, you can't. I mean, there's nothing that you're really pouring into anyone else. So
Hmm.
you definitely have to restock.
It sounds like you already started to segue into where we were going, which I was going to ask, like, what are those first steps that people should do? And it definitely notice what's going on. I know that's always the first, but the other thing you mentioned was identifying the type of rest you may need, the type of boundaries you may need to put in place.
Yeah.
What else would you say is a step that folks should probably identify?
I wanna kind of take a step back before even
Yeah.
the the boundaries piece. So in terms of like the self-awareness, definitely we start there.
Hmm.
Recognizing that there is an issue here. We need to address this. But also like the next most important step is recognizing that healing does not happen in isolation.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
It happens in community, and too many research studies have been done that support this. So if you think about like belonging and connectedness, like social connection, it's just protective for mental health. Like
Mm.
there's a reason why we were communal like
Yeah.
societies for so long, and some cultures in America still are, some aren't. It's just really depends on like how you grew up and where you grew up. Isolation is in a community that can help to build resilience, right? The other piece too is that when you are in community with others that are either experiencing the same or have gone through what you're going through, it helps with co-regulation of
Yeah.
like your emotions too. And then it just helps to like get your nervous system back in sync again. And it's funny because I think sometimes in like our communities we know that, for example, like with our menses, like it syncs up when you're in a family full of women,
Yes.
and like things are kind of, but there's a reason for that. Like our bodies are connected, like
Yeah.
we are connected to one another, and so like the same thing happens with emotion, like emotion regulation too.
Hmm.
And so again, like another reason for the community piece. In terms of boundaries, so this is, I think, one of those hot topic words,
Oh yeah.
and people are talking about it. But how do you do it? Like, how
That's what I was
do
about to
you
say, but they're not
actually do it?
talking about it.
Exactly. Like how? Like because it's hard when that's not something that you're used to,
Yeah.
or it can be difficult when you're in a family that's enmeshed.
Hmm.
And you start telling your mom, "I'm setting a boundary," and she's like, "What are you talking about right
With me.
now?" Right? Yeah. So it starts with kind of like the internal dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Just recognizing that boundaries really isn't about pushing anybody away. It's not about removing care for others away. It's really just about creating a space so that care can happen, right? So the setting of the boundary is so that you can take care of yourself. It's not about rejecting anyone else. It's just about taking care of yourself.
Right.
And like it starts with redefining selfishness.
Mm,
So,
I like that.
selfishness, laziness, like these are all terms that I'm sure a lot of us need to truly kind of just rewrite like the definition of in our minds. It's not lazy for you to sit down
Right.
and rest, right? God rested. Like it's biblical,
Hmm.
you know? And they forget to tell us that when we're growing up. But yes, so
I mean,
like
yeah, you're so right.
right. And then selfishness. Again, you cannot pour from what you don't have. So if you're not taking time to rest and recharge, it's just like if you think about electronics. We know this all too well. We carry around like our phone chargers. You
Right.
know, if your battery gets to like 5%, 10%, you got to plug that in, right? Or else
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to use it. But what about us? Like ourselves? Like how are we plugging ourselves in to recharge? Right? So like it starts with a mindset shift.
Yeah.
You got to shift your mindset around it so that you can be comfortable with it. And then the other part is the start to become comfortable with what I call discomfort, like the discomfort of it. It doesn't feel great. It's not going to feel great initially until you start to see the effects of the rest and of the boundaries. So when
Right.
you first start saying no to people, of course they're going to be like, "Why? You've done it before." Well, that's fine, but I'm not in a place to do it now. So I have to create like this boundary, right?
Yeah.
And then practicing clear, kind communication with people, being honest with them, especially the people that are like in our close circles, like letting them know, hey, listen, I am at this place now that I am on the verge of burnout. And I'm trying to focus on my health and get better. So I'm enacting this boundary. This is what I'm doing so that I can take care of myself so I can then better show up for like my family and friends.
Right.
Yeah, so just not just setting the boundary and not communicating the boundary because that causes problems. You have to set the boundary and communicate it too to people, right? You can't just like turn everything off and then say I'm in my boundary space, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then the other part is and this is a kind of like a moment of faith and like just trust in like your family and friends. Like they're your family and friends for a reason. Like you've built this relationship with them and granted, I do know not everyone that's family is going to respect this,
Right.
but for the most part, like your friend groups, you built those, and those were really intentionally built. And so, just having that faith and that trust that when you share why this is important to you, that they're going to respect it. It's going to be difficult, but they will respect it, right? And then
Yeah.
it'll get easier. Like it will get easier. And then just kind of reminding them and yourselves that this boundary again is for a very specific reason that is not about any punishment or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's really about like protecting you, gathering your energy back so that you can be better for yourself and for others.
I think that the barrier that women hit often, at least women within my community or that I work with, is with their mom, specifically like Black women with their Black moms. Because there's like it feels like disrespect to say, "Mom, I can't do this thing. Mom, I can't take this on." And it's either because they feel like I've always done it, so who else is going to do it? Nobody else knows how, right? And or it's, well, it's my mom, so I'll do it for that one person. But it's like, well, that's the person that needs the boundary.
Yes.
So like, what would you say to those women that like struggle with a little bit of that guilt or feel like it is disrespectful to the other person just by setting
Yeah.
this boundary?
Yeah. So for me, what worked?
Mm,
So I can talk from my experience and also what I've shared with other women is like having a phrase in mind. So I call them like healing words, so like affirmations, different things like that. But
yeah,
having a phrase, and so like I identify as Christian, so I have like a scripture in mind that
yeah,
I'll say to myself about rest and like the importance of rest, and I'll just kind of keep saying that to myself. Um, Before I have a conversation with my mom, sometimes I pause during the conversation with my mom, and then even afterwards. Um, I have sometimes acquiesced and said, okay, I can't do it now, but I can do it at this time. So I'm still, my boundary is still in place, but
right,
I'm also appeasing some of my guilt associated with it. But that's not
yeah,
always feasible. Like to say I
right.
could do it later. And it's gotten to a place, it was extremely challenging with my mom, but it's gotten to a place now where if I tell her, Mom, I really just cannot do this right now because of whatever reason I give her,
Mm,
um, then she's okay with it. She has become okay with it because now she recognizes that this is something that I need. And it's even gotten to a place where, like, generationally in our family, our elders are saying, we wish we had
yeah,
this, like, kind of knowledge, or
yeah,
even
that's so
just
often.
this gumption to, like, say no
Yeah,
when we were, like, younger. But it is challenging. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but it will work. You just have to stay consistent with it. Because again, it's not a boundary if you're only putting it in place like 20% of the time or
exactly.
30% of the
It's
time.
just what you said that one time.
Yeah.
And I tell people too, usually they learn just a new pattern of getting
Yes.
to their yes
And that's it.
or,
That's it.
whatever it is.
And then rehearsals too. Like I practice some. Like I
Oh,
practice
yeah,
what the conversation would, how it might go. And so that's when it's great to have an older sister
yeah.
to role play some things out with. But I mean, all of that works. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it does get better.
We used to say that all the time. Well, me and my sister still say that. We're like, because you know how your mama is. So if I say this, it's
Right.
like, your mama.
Right. That's exactly right. That's what we do too.
But it's also because of that that I think this is that moment where the term like generational curse starts coming to my mind because I'm thinking about how I'm even trying to become comfortable when like my kids tell me no about something and it's respectful and it's honoring their autonomy. Because sometimes I'm like, what do you mean no? Like, and like the conscious, healthy side of me is like, you know what no means, right? But there's this other piece that's like, but I'm mom. Like, I don't get no. And so I see how even it's ingrained on that mother, or excuse me, maternal aspect of things. So like, I'm like,
It is.
it's hard even on the small scale, like just honoring and respecting this other little human.
Absolutely, it is. And it's funny that you bring that up because I'm thinking about when my daughter is 2.5.
Okay.
And so I've been trying to teach her about like bodily autonomy and that it's okay if you don't want to hug. You don't
Yeah.
have to hug. Like all these different things that we weren't allowed to say no
Yeah.
to when we were younger. And so my mom has this thing like with her voice. I'm not gonna call it like full on manipulation, but she'll say, "Oh, you don't want to do that for mom, or you don't want to do that for grandma."
Kills me.
No, mom, no.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do it. But just like witnessing that
Yeah.
like happen from her to me, and I do have to catch myself. More so for me with the why questions, like when I ask
Mm,
her to do when I ask her to do something, but that's something that I want to encourage. I want to encourage like her questioning things to better
exactly.
understand,
Yeah.
and so she can make a determination if it's something that she really needs to like engage in or do,
Hmm.
despite who is asking her. Because a lot of times, especially with our children, they can be hurt by like our family, people that are in like this community where if you think back like one generation, you weren't supposed to question.
No,
And so, yes, I want her to question it, but I do. I catch myself saying, well, because I said so, because your mom told you to do this. But yeah, I stop myself before I get to that point.
I'm not gonna lie. I've had a few moments where I'm like, okay, I've already told you why. And I think that usually opens up an opportunity for me though. I've noticed and I'm trying to check myself, but like I'll get back on level like I'm sorry. Okay. Like deep breath. Ask me again, let's try again. Like because I had to realize even that's a moment to help them see that like, hey, it's okay to get frustrated sometimes. It's like what do you do with that frustration? How do you address it? How do you rectify the relationship and communicate? But, oh my
Absolutely.
gosh. I'm like, sometimes I wish I didn't know this stuff. I'm like,
Right? It was so much simpler
I know,
before.
I know. Oh my goodness.
That
But
awareness
okay.
will get you every time.
So I'm thinking, so I have a 2.5-year-old too. And
Oh, okay.
so I'm thinking right now his favorite phrase is, I did it already, even though he hasn't done whatever I asked. Whatever I asked, he has not done it. But he'll go, I did it already. So like, go use the potty. I did it already. Why do I have to go back? I'm like, you did it 3 hours ago. You need to go back again. Like, and just the level of fluster that I have sometimes in those moments. And I think that like even those small moments there add up to that like potential burnout that we start to receive like in motherhood even, which goes back to your point too. I'm like knowing your bandwidth and knowing when you need to say no and doing like those check-ins and having that mindfulness. And so I guess it kind of leads me into like my next question in regards to what role do you feel that like your emotional, spiritual, and like physical wellness plays into burnout prevention? Like, I will say, I know a lot of people like follow me on Instagram or whatever, so I am a 4:30 a.m.er because I have toddlers.
Okay.
So that's how
Got
I
it.
get my workouts in, you know, because once the day start, I ain't seeing a gym. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. But what would you say? What were some of your insights there in regards to how they could prevent?
Um, Essentially, what you're talking about is taking care of yourself. Like these
Yeah,
are areas where you take care of yourself, right?
yeah.
So nutrition, again, just kind of thinking about like research. Research shows us that, for example, if we want to have like higher energy, lasting energy in the morning, we better start out with like some protein, right?
Yeah.
Eating a little bit of protein, drinking water throughout the day to stay hydrated. It
Hmm.
helps to clear your mind. Like these are all things that we know to be true, right? It's just sometimes difficult to engage them.
Yeah.
But if you want to, not necessarily reverse burnout, but if you want to start your recovery from burnout and
Yeah.
if you want to prevent burnout in the future, like you have to take care of these areas. So if you're a spiritual, religious person, then making sure that you're spending time in that space in meditation and prayer. If you're for the physical, you don't have to necessarily like go to the gym all the time or start like this really mad like Peloton program. I
I
love Peloton.
know.
Like, I'm a spin person. Sorry. I'm one of them. But
Yeah, yeah.
I love to ride and to do spin. But you don't have to do like this massive anything like that. It
Hmm.
could be as simple as just taking a walk.
Yeah.
Just a walk, getting outside in fresh air in a little bit of sunlight, it does wonders for our body and our moods. And doing that in community is even better. Like,
Yeah.
let's walk with a friend, let's walk with family, walk with our children. So, your food, your like what you put in your body, how you're utilizing your body throughout the day, us having kind of being in this tech space or this technological industrial age, if you will,
Hmm.
is not doing anything to help our bodies
Hmm.
at all. Increases in like back pain,
Yeah.
in terms of like the posture and ergonomics, like all these different things are being negatively impacted by like desk jobs.
Yeah.
I mean that's just the real of it.
Yeah.
So we have to do things to be more physical so that we can be healthier, so that we don't have more problems down the road, but that also
Hmm.
contributes to like the feelings of burnout. Like your body can't handle as much if it's not healthy. It just can't. And then of course the mental wellness piece. Like I think that's the one that we know that we need to handle when we're
Exactly.
talking about burnout. But the other areas all factor in too because they work together. Like we're whole bodies. We're not parts. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I always say, which I've prided myself in this in the last like year or so, but like really the physical aspect, I think I had a check or a pulse check on the rest, but there are just sometimes where, like life stressors do just come up, right? And to the point you made earlier, like some of the prevention things or some of the things you could do are these long-term prevention things that you
Yes.
mentioned.
Yeah.
But I am one of the desk job, work from home girlies. So,
I am too. I am too.
but
Yeah.
to your point, oh my gosh, I started having hip problems. Like I would stand up and like feel robotic almost. I mean, cracking everywhere. And I think it was actually just recently, maybe within the last 6 months, I got like one of the standing desks because Amazon had them on sale. Um, but my walker pad underneath, and now like even my
That's it.
energy in the afternoon is better. So to
That's
your
it.
point, like that energy actually stretching throughout the day, me
Yeah.
not having the hip troubles anymore, having that energy for when them kids come home,
Ooh, yes.
right? But like all of that feeds back into like your stamina for the stressors
Yeah.
that come up in your life. To your point, oh
Yes.
man, mm,
Yeah. I've seen on like different videos and stuff, like people with the walking pads.
yeah,
If that's what you can do, do that.
yeah,
I've seen the bike desk. um, I like where it's like almost like this flat piece that you put on your spin bike,
yeah,
and you can have like your laptop and stuff set up. I cannot multitask like that, so
yeah.
that's
I'm
not
like I
for
might
me.
fall. I don't know how, but I'ma fall.
So what I do is I set my timer on my phone. Like I work in like bursts.
Yeah,
So like I'll do a couple of tasks and then I'll get up and I just have to walk around.
yeah,
So I've been very fortunate to find a family co-working space.
mm,
And so in this co-working space, like my daughter's in preschool, like in her preschool classroom, and I'm in the co-working space with other women, again, community, because it does help.
nice. Yeah,
And I can just walk around, like just walk around
yeah.
the space and
Oh,
move around here. And one of the things, because again, like we're mindful of this, of
mm,
how culture is today, is that we intentionally set like our schedule with Arabella. So we do like a midday yoga reset
mm,
for women just like us, right? So at noon, like you can go, you can get a yoga session, feel better, like feel
yeah.
better. And like those little things add up. They definitely add up. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now I'm a little jealous. I mean, I go and walk the neighborhood here and there, but me and Bugs, I don't get along with Bugs very well. So usually I just pull out my walker pad, I open up the blinds a little bit. We have to make it work that way. Oh, I love that y'all have that though. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. So now we come to the segment of the podcast where I like to ask if there is nothing else that our listeners have gathered from the episode today, what are some key takeaways that you want them to have or some practical tips?
Hmm. Let's see. Takeaway
Mhm.
is choosing yourself isn't selfish. It is rest is sacred. Like choosing yourself isn't selfish. Rest is sacred. Like just hold on to that. Um, Everyone was designed to rest. Everyone. So we need to take part in that. I would say for like some actionable tips
Yeah.
for listeners, just a couple of things. And these are like check-ins that you could just do with yourself. So I would say do like energy check-ins.
Mm.
So asking yourself at the end of your week, like what made you feel the most alive this week,
Mm.
and what drained you the most this week,
Yeah.
right? And then kind of making small adjustments. And this is just like when at the beginning of the year when you make like your New Year's resolutions and you're gonna go to the gym 5 days a week. No, let's start small. We're gonna start small, build the habit
That's
until it
right.
becomes like our full pattern,
That's right.
and then we can add more things on top of it instead of like jumping in like head first. But just making small adjustments over time to feed more into the things that make you feel alive, right? I would also say like practicing pauses throughout the day. Set it on your phone. Just set it and forget it. Like build it into your schedule where you essentially just carve out time to just rest, like mentally rest, right? And then also that goes into when I say like kind of taking these pauses, that goes into like pausing before you say yes to something.
Yeah.
So saying, hmm, let me get back to you on this. Like, let me follow up with you on this later. I'm just going to check on a few things with my schedule, with my calendar. Slowing down your thinking and that automatic yes that sometimes flies out of our mouth.
Hmm.
Because once you check, oftentimes you really don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And that's okay to not have time for it right now. And so just really creating a space for you to say no. You got to create that space. And then the final thing I would say is the community piece.
Yeah.
Again, recovery happens in community, healing happens in community. So where's your community? Just like you mentioned earlier, when I don't know if it was your friend or your sister, they start to withdraw and you call and say, hey, what's
Yeah.
happening? Like, what's going on? Like, you need people like that in your
Yeah.
circle because we heal together.
Man, such a good point. Oh, I love this. This was so great having you on. I'm so excited. I'm over here like I was shaking my leg and everything because I'm already thinking about the clips that I'm gonna steal from this. I like instantly I'm still ruminating even on like the different types of rest. I'm like, even that for me, I'm gonna have to dive deeper into that because like I knew there were some because you could just feel the difference when you do different things. But I'm
Yeah.
like, there may be some more I need to tap into. Um, definitely
if
feel the
you go
stress.
to if you go to our blog section,
Yeah,
there's a nice video there that talks about like the different
yeah.
types of rest. So definitely go check it out. Yeah.
And I'm gonna be on there. But
Perfect.
speaking of which, tell everyone where they can find you. Tell them what you have going on next, where they can find your center, all the good stuff.
Perfect. Okay, so our center is headquartered in the Deck Networking building. However, where they can find us is online. All of our services are digital. Everything. So from the comfort of your own home, you
That's
can
right.
access all of the services that we have on your own schedule. So it's arabellawellness.org. And you can go there. You can find us on social media. We are at Arabella Wellness Center. And I am, of course, like on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere that Arabella is. So feel free to like reach out at any
Yes,
time. But some of the things that we do have going on that I am super excited about.
yes.
We have a wellness summit that's coming up at the end of May. It's a 2-day summit that is unlike a traditional conference in that it really is about like healing and restoration. So it's targeted to women. Anyone can come, but it's targeted to women. It's going to be in Dallas on the 30th and 31st, and we have wellness stations set up. So we're going to have like mini yoga sessions, chair massages, some red
Mhm.
light therapy, like other little things like that, where you can again get poured into.
Yeah.
So that's the first day. The second day is going to be focused on like the educational piece a little bit more.
Oh, that's
So we're going to
perfect.
have like burnout recovery workshops. We're going to have workshops on
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. So like all aspects of wellness. We have financial wellness workshops, different things like that. But we're excited to be bringing this like to the DFW community.
That's awesome. I love the setup of the summit because you guys are almost ensuring that whatever baggage everybody's coming in with, they get an
Yes.
opportunity to release all that
Yes.
before they get more insight and they get
That's
sent
exactly
off.
right.
But then, too, I'm even thinking that sometimes this is the only opportunity that people would get to participate in those activities, to like,
Yes.
be intentional to see what works for me or what did I benefit from, what did I
Yes.
like. So I
Yes.
love the setup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm excited for y'all now.
Thank you.
Time. We'll definitely make sure we link everything below. Websites, the summit, the whole works. Dr. Natesha, thank you again so much for joining the podcast.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sis, wasn't that so needed? Dr. Natesha dropped so many gems and let us know how important it is to rest and reset, or you're going to continue that cycle of burnout. Not only that, but she reminded us how important it is to have community. And this is why it's even more important and more imperative for you guys to get involved with my coaching. In my one-on-one coaching, I help take you from overwhelmed to organized so that you could balance your life and stop this cycle of burnout that you're finding yourself in. Remember, balance is not something you find, it's something you create. Until next time.